disaster. Come on, Jack, Annie called. He was almost to the river. Just a minute, he shouted. He wanted to study the giraffes and zebra. He pulled out the Africa book and found the picture of giraffes. He read, "The giraffe is the tallest animal in the world. Its legs alone can be 6 feet tall, and its hooves can be as big as dinner plates. The giraffe has a very powerful kick, which makes it dangerous to attack. For this reason, lions tend to avoid giraffes." Jack pulled out his notebook and wrote, "Notes on Africa. Lions avoid giraffes." He turned the page and read more. Zebras live in family groups. As you know, 2 zebras have exactly the same pattern of stripe. Every baby zebra must learn each one mother's pattern. Jack studied the zebras, trying to see their different patterns. But in the haze afternoon light, all the stripe made him dizzy. He blinked to clear his head, then read more. Zebras are the first to cross the river because they eat the coarsest grass. After they've thinned down the top layer, the wildebeest arrive and eat the next layer. They prepare the grass for the gazelles, who come last. Wow, thought Jack. Each animal depends on the one that goes before. He wrote, "Animals are connected." Jack heard Annie shouting from the river bank. "Jump, beast, jump! You can do it. Don't be afraid. Come on." He looked up. Annie herself was jumping as she called to the wildebeest. Jack sighed. "I'd better stop her before there's trouble," he thought. He put away the Africa book and this notebook. Then he jogged toward the river. His pack was heavy and lumpy, bumping against his back. He'd forgotten to take out the jar of peanut butter and the loaf of bread. Jack decided to leave them at the tree house. He turned to go back, but just then, Annie's shouting stopped. Jack looked at the river. She had vanished. "Annie," he called. No answer. Where was she? "Annie!" Jack shouted. She had completely disappeared. "Oh man," said Jack. Their trip had barely begun, and already disaster had struck. He forgot about the stuff in his pack. He just ran as fast as he could. He wove his way between the grazing zebras and giraffes as he raced to the river. "Help!" called Annie. Chapter 4. Mud Baths. Jack looked over the edge of the river bank, and he had fallen into a pool of mud near the water. The thick black mud was up to her chest. "I slipped," she said. "It feels like quicksand." Jack threw down his pack and got on his knees. "Be careful," said Annie. "Don't slip too." Jack pointed to a tangle of old tree roots sticking out of the bank. "Grab those," he said. Annie reached for the roots. "Too far," she said, breathing hard. She was thinking. The mud was up to her neck. "Hold on," Jack looked around widely. He saw a fallen tree branch near the bank. He raced to it, picked it up, and carried it back to Annie. Only her head and arms stuck out of the mud now. Jack held out the branch. Annie grabbed it. "Hold tight," said Jack. "I'll drag you over to the roots." He started pulling on the branch. "I'm still thinking." Annie wailed. The mud was up to her chin. "Come on," said Jack. "You can do it. I know you can. Try. Just then, Jack heard a splash. He looked up. On the other side of the wide river, a wildebeest had jumped into the water. And other jumped, then another. They were headed right toward Jack and Annie. "Hold on tight," said Jack. He pulled on the stick again. Annie moved a tiny bit. "Hey Jack, on the moon it felt like I weighed 10 pounds, said Annie. "And in this mud, it feels like I weighed a ton." "Concentrate, Annie," said Jack, trying not to slip down the bank. "I am." The red wildebeests were halfway across, swimming toward them. Many more wildebeests were jumping into the water. "It's now or never," said Jack. He took a deep breath. He pulled really hard. Just then, a shadow passed over them. Jack looked up. "Uh-oh," he said. A huge vulture circled overhead. "It thinks you're near the end," said Jack. "Oh, get out of here," Annie shouted at the vulture. "I'm fine." In a burst of fury, she let go of the branch. She ran for the roots. She grabbed them. "Yes!" cried Jack. "Pull! Pull!" Slowly, Annie pulled herself out. She was covered with the black mud from head to toe. Jack helped her onto the bank, getting mud all over himself. "See!" Annie shook her fist at the vulture. "I'm fine, now beat it." But the giant, ugly bird still circled. "Come on, let's get away from him," said Jack. He pushed his glasses into place. "Wretch," he said. Now his glasses were muddy. He tried to clean his hands in the grass. "Oh no," shouted Annie. Jack turned to her. "The wildebeest will get stuck in the mud hole," she cried. She waved her arms at the wildebeest struggling to swim across the river. "Not here," she shouted. "Not here." But the frantic swimmers kept coming. Chapter 5. Ha ha. "Oh no, shouted Annie. She raced down the bank until she reached the sandy, clear spot. Here, she called. The wildebeest followed her with their wild eyes. Jack watched in disbelief as the swimmer changed their course. Slowly, all the wildebeests swam to where Annie stood. She waved them in like a traffic policeman. Jack grabbed his backpack. "Annie," he cried. "Let's go before we get trampled." "Keep it up," she shouted to the wildebeest as she took off after Jack. They ran farther up the river, away from the incoming wildebeest. Finally, they stopped to catch their breath. They looked back. Everything seemed fine. The wildebeest were scrambling safely over the river bank. Soon they would graze on the grass prepared by the zebras. "Good work," Jack said to Annie. "Thanks," she said. "Okay, Now for our riddle. No. First we've got to get clean, said Jack. You look like you're in a mud suit. High-pitched laughter rang through the air. It sounded mocking and mean. Jack and Annie turned around. They saw two spotted brown animals standing in the tall grass. The creatures had bodies like dogs, but with sloping backs. They laughed again. Ha ha, said Annie. You don't look so great yourself. What are they? Said Jack. He took out the book. He tried not to get mud on it as he looked for a picture. When he found it, he read aloud. On the Africa plains, the hyena is a ruling predator after the lion. It makes a sound similar to a high-pitched human laugh. What's predator mean? Said Annie. It means it catches things and eats them, said Jack. Oh, said Annie. Yuck! The two hyenas laughed again, and they moved closer to Jack and Annie. Quietly, Jack read more. The hyena has a reputation for being a thief and a coward. Let's see if they are cowards, whispered Annie. Let's try to scare them. The hyena laughed and moved a little closer. How? Jack asked. Act like a monster, said Annie. Now! Jack and Annie made terrible monster faces. They put out their hands and rushed at the hyena. Arrgh! They shouted. The hyena yelped and scurried off. Scaredy cat! Annie shouted after them. Come on, said Jack. Annie and Jack took off in the other direction. They ran around a bend in the river. Jack called the hyena raptor again. It sounded far away. Good, he said. They're gone. Hey, maybe we can wash over there, said Annie. She pointed to the edge of the forest. There was a small pond surrounded by tall grass. Zebras were drinking the water. Yeah, said Jack. If it's safe enough for them to drink. The zebras ignored them as they walked toward the pond. When they reached the edge of the water, Jack set his heavy pack down in the dry grass. He glanced around. No lions were in sight. But then he heard something. On the far side of the pond, something very big was coming out of the trees.